Soweto Taxi Association chairperson has been shot and killed. That's along the Soweto highway this morning.
In the chill of a Gauteng morning, traffic moved steadily along the Soweto highway. Engines roared, commuters stared through windshields, unaware that within minutes, a storm of gunfire would rip through the calm. At approximately 9:30 a.m., two vehicles boxed in a luxury SUV near the Diepkloof off-ramp. Doors swung open. No warning, no words, just the violent echo of automatic gunfire. Inside that bullet-shredded vehicle lay Thami Moyo, the 58-year-old chairperson of the Gauteng National Taxi Alliance, a man who fought for peace in an industry soaked in blood. His murder didn't just claim a life, it tore through South Africa's taxi industry like a fault line, cracking open buried rivalries, exposing corruption, and reigniting fears of war on the streets. This is not just a story of a man killed. This is a story of an industry built on wheels, money, power, and silence. Thamsanqa Thami Moyo was born in Gauteng in the late 1960s, a time when the apartheid regime controlled every inch of public transport. Taxis were illegal. Black South Africans were herded into segregated commuter trains and buses. But young men like Moyo saw opportunity in defiance. Small minibus vans, privately owned, transported workers between townships and city centers. It was risky, but it was freedom, economic and physical. As apartheid fell and the early 1990s dawned, the taxi industry exploded. Deregulation opened the floodgates. Thousands bought Toyota Hiaces and ventured into routes with no rules and no protection. What followed was chaos, violent clashes for dominance, assassinations at taxi ranks, petrol-bombed vehicles, bodies lying on the asphalt. These were the first taxi wars. Moyo began as a driver, quiet, calculated. He learned how associations operated, how routes were allocated, how disputes were handled, not in courtrooms, but in backrooms. Over time, he became a respected operator, unshaken by threats, known for diplomacy, not destruction. He rose through the ranks to join the Gauteng National Taxi Alliance, GNTA, a powerful organization representing thousands of drivers and owners. Unlike Santaco, the government-recognized National Taxi Council, GNTA prided itself on independence from state influence. Moyo became its chairperson, calm under pressure, trusted even by rivals. He spoke unity. He demanded fairness. And in a world where loyalty shifts like dust, he remained unbought. To outsiders, taxis are just minibus vans. To insiders, they are a billion-rand empire, moving more passengers daily than trains and buses combined. No subsidies, no corporate bosses, just operators, drivers, queue marshals, and cash, always cash. Every route is territory, every taxi rank is real estate, and every empty seat is lost profit. This is where violence grows. Associations control routes. New operators must seek permission. When they don't, bullets replace negotiations. Some parts of Gauteng, Soweto, Mamelodi, Alexandra became war zones. Bodies slumped inside vehicles at dawn. Taxi bosses shot outside their homes. Ranks burned to the ground. Millions of rands exchanged hands in protection fees. Police raid suspects today, release them tomorrow. Government tried to intervene. Routes were formalized. Licenses printed. Committees formed. But corruption seeped in. Permits were sold. Rogue operators ignored laws. Politicians courted taxi bosses for power. Leaders who spoke against violence became targets. Moyo was one of those leaders. By 2023, Moyo had become the most influential voice in GNTA. While he acknowledged the industry's violent past, he believed continued bloodshed would destroy its future. He forged ties with SANTACO Gauteng and even initiated talks with e-hailing services like Uber and Bolt, bitter enemies of traditional taxis. He attended peace conferences. He advocated for route-sharing agreements. He spoke publicly against extortion, illegal roadblocks, and hitmen for hire. Some hailed him a visionary, others whispered he was betraying the codes of the street. When GNTA operators clashed with Santaco affiliates in Pretoria over the lucrative Bosman rank in 2024, it was Moyo who stepped between gun barrels and told both sides to stand down. The truce held, but enemies multiplied. Men who profit from war do not listen to sermons of peace. Warnings came quietly, anonymous calls, shadows outside his home. Intelligence suggested someone had put a price on his head. But Moyo refused to back down. "If I leave now, unity dies," he reportedly told officials. It was a Thursday morning, clear skies. Moyo attended a meeting earlier concerning rank permit disputes in Soweto. At around 9:30 a.m., he drove along the Soweto highway toward Diepkloof. Witnesses say two vehicles, a white minibus taxi and a silver Toyota Yaris, accelerated beside him. They cut into his lane, forced him to stop. Passengers stepped out, dressed in dark clothing, faces hidden. Automatic gunfire tore through windshields and steel. More than 20 bullets struck his vehicle. Moyo died before paramedics could reach him. The attackers disappeared. No arrests, no claims of responsibility. News spread like wildfire. Taxi ranks fell into stunned silence. Radio stations interrupted programming. Government officials rushed to condemn the killing. But inside taxi circles, no one was surprised. They had seen this before. Another leader silenced. Within hours, associations gathered behind closed doors. Meetings stretched into the night. Moyo had not just been a chairman, he was a mediator between opposing taxi factions. His absence created a void only violence could fill. Taxi operators feared reprisals. Some stayed off the roads. Others armed themselves. Government deployed additional police to hotspots: Bara Taxi Rank, Nord Street Rank, Mamelodi Crossing. Santaco called the murder an attack on peace itself. GNTA declared a week of mourning and demanded justice, but behind the public statements, rumors spread. Some believed rival associations ordered the hit. Others blamed rogue individuals seeking control of diesel depots, taxi finance schemes, or new bus contracts. The SAPS Taxi Violence Task Team took over the case. Forensic units combed the scene, collecting bullet casings from high-caliber rifles. Surveillance footage was seized. Yet, as weeks passed, no suspects were named. To understand the impact of Moyo's death, one must understand the scars that shaped this industry. Between 1990 and 2000, more than 600 people were killed in taxi-related violence nationwide. Wars erupted in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape. Leaders fell like dominoes. In taxi culture, assassination is not random. It is strategic. It sends a message: control, vengeance, or warning. Hits are planned by committees, financed by route revenue, executed by trained gunmen. Police often fail to convict. Witnesses vanish, intimidated into silence, or vanished permanently. Dockets go missing. Officers are sometimes accused of collusion. Justice rarely arrives. Moyo knew all of this. He survived at least 2 previous attempts on his life. But this time, the attackers succeeded. After his funeral in Soweto, a heavily guarded event attended by thousands, tension tightened. Who would replace him? GNTA needed a leader, but no one wanted the chair if it came with a target on the back. Some factions pushed for aggressive retaliation. Others argued peace was Moyo's legacy and must be honored. Yet, without a strong mediator, old rivalries resurfaced. Associations began to fight over control of major ranks in Soweto and Johannesburg CBD. New routes opening between Gauteng and Northwest Province, contracts for transporting school children and mine workers, access to taxi scrapping allowances under government's renewal scheme. The provincial government called emergency meetings. Transport MECs pleaded for calm, but words cannot stop bullets. For decades, government has treated the taxi industry like a wildfire, containing flames, never extinguishing them. Ministers call for peace after every assassination, yet laws remain weak and illegal firearms saturate the sector. In Gauteng, attempts to formalize taxi operations into a bus rapid transit (BRT) system were met with protests, arson, sabotage. Billions were spent to integrate taxis into modern transport, yet corruption, mismanagement, and mistrust stalled progress. Police task teams exist, but convictions are rare. Courtrooms echo with silence as witnesses refuse to testify. Moyo's murder tested the government again. President and Transport Minister condemned the killing. SAPs promised arrests, but on the ground, nothing changed. Taxi ranks remain battlegrounds. Commuters live between fear and necessity. Months after the assassination, the industry remembers, but not loudly. Drivers whisper Moyo's name cautiously. Some taxi owners now travel with private security. Others avoid night routes. Young drivers entering the business do so for survival, unaware they are stepping into a war disguised as public transport. His family lives under protection. His home remains a symbol of what it costs to speak against violence. Yet somewhere, in small offices within taxi headquarters, his notes remain. Strategies on route sharing, legal transformation, pensions for drivers, education funds for taxi families. Plans unfinished. Blood dries on asphalt. Headlines fade. But the cold truth remains. In South Africa's taxi industry, power is not inherited. It is taken. Thami Moyo believed peace could be negotiated, not enforced with gunfire. He believed the industry could evolve beyond fear. Instead, he became the latest martyr in a war no one publicly declares, but everyone silently participates in. No arrests, no justice, only an empty seat at the GNTA table, a bullet-scarred vehicle, and a question echoing through every taxi rank in Gauteng. Can peace survive in a world where the road to power is paved with bullets?